Kalen Rios crouched behind a jagged red rock, his fingers trembling slightly as he wiped sweat from his forehead. The sun had barely risen over the jagged canyons of Virelia, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold, when he smelled it, something raw and sharp, cutting through the scent of his freshly caught protein. His pulse spiked. A deep rumble shook the ground beneath him. He froze, every instinct screaming danger. Then he saw it, massive, impossibly large, scales glinting like molten bronze in the early light. The creature's nostrils flared, steam rising in the cold air as it sniffed, moving closer. Its eyes were black, endless, and intelligent, studying him as if weighing his worth. Kalen's stomach clenched. This wasn't just a predator, it was something far smarter, far more dangerous than anything he had encountered on this planet. He had no weapons ready. No walls, no cover but the sharp rocks at his back. One wrong move and he would be lunch. The dragon, if that's what it truly was, leaned closer, the scent of blood almost unbearable. Kalen's mind raced. Fight? Run? Both seemed foolish. He could feel the creature's curiosity, not just its hunger, and he knew the moment called for something bold, something no one else would dare. He took a slow, deliberate breath and stepped forward, lifting the small, still warm carcass of his hunt into the air. Relax, he said, voice steady even as his heart hammered. It's only my lunch. The dragon froze mid-step, nostrils quivering. Its eyes narrowed, focused entirely on him. For a tense heartbeat, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then a low hiss escaped its throat, and the ground trembled again as it stomped closer, claws scraping the canyon floor. Kalen held the carcass higher, tilting it to the side, showing he meant no threat. The creature stopped, sniffed, and tilted its massive head. Kalen felt a flicker of hope, though he didn't let it show. Every story he had ever heard about alien predators ended with death. But this was different. There was intelligence here, an awareness that demanded respect and caution. A loose rock beneath Kalen's boot shifted. The dragon's ears, or whatever it had in that place, twitched. With a sudden roar, it bared teeth as long as his arm and slammed a claw against the canyon wall, sending a shower of red dust into the air. Kalen stumbled back, barely keeping the carcass upright. The creature advanced again, closer this time, its eyes unblinking. Kalen's mind worked faster than his body could move. He threw the carcass in a wide arc toward the canyon floor. The dragon lunged, but instead of striking him, it snapped up the offering with terrifying speed. Kalen exhaled sharply, relief mixing with adrenaline. One small victory. He had survived the first encounter. The dragon's gaze swung back to him, and Kalen noticed something in its stance. Hesitation, almost curiosity. It wasn't merely a mindless hunter. It was calculating, testing him, weighing his intentions. Kalen smiled slightly, even as sweat dripped into his eyes. He had made the first connection. The dragon had chosen to pause rather than attack. Suddenly, the ground under his left foot crumbled. Kalen caught himself just in time as a small rockslide tumbled toward the dragon. A sharp spray of dust hit him in the face. The dragon hissed, startled, swiping at the falling stones with a claw that could have crushed a human skull. Kalen's heart skipped again. It would take only one misstep, one misunderstanding, and this brief truce would end in a single fatal moment. But then, something unexpected happened. The dragon stepped forward, carefully avoiding the rocks, almost protective in its movement. It circled him once, head low, studying every motion, then exhaled a plume of hot, smoky air. Kalen could feel the heat wash over him like a warning. His stomach twisted with a mixture of awe and fear. He realized something crucial. This encounter wasn't just about survival. It was a test, one that required more than courage. It demanded understanding, patience, and cleverness. He had seconds to decide what to do next, and every decision mattered. One wrong move and the canyon would claim him. But one right choice, perhaps he could turn a monster into an ally. A distant rumble echoed through the canyon, louder than before. Kalen's eyes snapped toward the sound, only to see the dragon stiffen, nostrils flaring again. Something else was coming, something bigger, something unseen, and this new danger made his heart jump even higher. The alien predator, massive and terrifying, was no longer just curious. It was alert, tense, aware of another presence that Kalen couldn't yet see. He swallowed hard. His lunch might have saved him for now, but the real test was just beginning. And as the canyon trembled beneath another roar from the unseen force, Kalen realized that his courage alone would not be enough to survive what was coming next. The dragon shifted slightly, watching him, and Kalen knew, the moment to act again was already here. Kalen's muscles were tense as he backed slowly away from the dragon, eyes scanning the canyon floor for any escape route. The creature followed him, its massive claws clinking against the rocks, each step sending small clouds of red dust into the air. It wasn't running, wasn't attacking, but it was there, constant, measuring, waiting. His first thought was to retreat to the canyon's narrow ridge, but the dragon was too fast, too aware. Any sudden move could trigger its instincts. Kalen's mind raced. He had to think fast. The dragon had survived countless predators. It understood risk and advantage. He needed leverage, something it would recognize. Slowly, deliberately, he lowered his hands and spoke softly. "You're not after me, are you? You just want food." The creature's head tilted slightly. Its eyes flickered with something that was almost comprehension. The ground shook again, but this time not from the dragon. A distant thrum, low and rhythmic, vibrated through the canyon walls. Kalen's chest tightened. That sound, it was mechanical. Someone else was coming. Whoever it was, they weren't here for a peaceful encounter. His gaze flicked back to the dragon. It hissed, nostrils flaring, the scales along its back rising in tension. Kalen realized this wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was alert, aware of the other presence and ready to defend territory, or him. Kalen needed to act. He reached for his ration pack, not to eat, but to use. Pulling out a chunk of protein, he tossed it toward a flat rock, just far enough for the dragon to see, to test it. The massive creature lunged and caught it midair, jaws snapping shut with terrifying precision. Kalen's stomach lurched at the sound. One small victory, but enough to reinforce the delicate trust forming between them. The dragon's attention shifted momentarily to the food, giving him a split second of breathing room. He inched sideways, scanning for potential hazards. The canyon was filled with jagged cliffs, narrow ledges and hidden drop-offs, every step a danger. But he noticed something that gave him a spark of hope. A cluster of large boulders near the edge of the canyon, forming a natural barrier. If he could get the dragon to follow him there without triggering aggression, he could use the terrain to his advantage. "Come on," he murmured, keeping his voice calm, almost coaxing. He tossed another small piece of his meal, this time in the direction of the boulders. The dragon's eyes followed, then it moved, heavy and deliberate, circling around the rocks, claws scraping the stone floor. Its massive wings flexed slightly, hinting at the power it could unleash. Kalen's heart pounded, but he refused to show fear. As he guided the creature toward the boulders, Kalen caught sight of movement near the canyon entrance. Figures, slender, metallic-clad, with weapons glinting in the early light, emerged from the shadows. Alien poachers. His stomach sank. He had heard stories of these hunters, merciless and highly skilled, known to capture or kill anything rare for profit. The dragon had no idea yet, but Kalen did. He had seconds to decide. Flee with the creature and risk confrontation, or stand his ground and try to protect it. Kalen's mind raced, calculating risk and timing. He reached for another piece of food and lobbed it toward the poacher's path, deliberately breaking line of sight. The dragon paused, confused, sniffing the air. Kalen's heart hammered, but the gamble worked. The creature's focus shifted back to him. He could feel it, a pulse of understanding, or perhaps curiosity, passing between them. "Good," he whispered, almost to himself. Every action mattered. He had learned long ago that creatures, alien or not, responded to intent. Hesitation would be fatal. Confidence, even in a life-or-death situation, could tip the balance. The poachers advanced cautiously, scanning the canyon floor. Their movements were deliberate, coordinated, each step sending vibrations that the dragon felt instantly. It hissed, wings twitching, claws digging into stone. Kalen recognized the warning in its stance. Their presence had escalated the danger, and now, more than ever, he needed to control the moment. He edged closer to the boulder barrier, keeping his hands visible, voice calm. "I'm not your enemy," he said, louder this time, hoping the dragon could sense his intent. The creature's breathing slowed slightly. It wasn't surrendering, but it wasn't attacking either. Kalen had a plan forming. He needed a distraction, a small payoff for both of them. He grabbed a handful of rocks, tossing them with precision toward a ledge behind the poachers. A cascade of stones tumbled down, striking metal and drawing startled shouts. The dragon flinched, then turned, its massive head swiveling to observe the commotion. Kalen seized the moment, nudging the creature gently toward the boulders. The poachers recovered quickly, weapons raised. Kalen froze for half a heartbeat, then ran not toward safety but deeper into the boulder cluster, dragging the dragon with him through subtle gestures, coaxing it with small pieces of food. The massive creature followed, hesitating at the tight corners but trusting his guidance. A roar shattered the canyon silence, deep, guttural, full of rage and warning. Kalen's eyes widened as he realized the dragon was protecting him, not out of instinct alone but choice. It had made a decision to follow his lead. But just as he thought they had gained a momentary advantage, the canyon walls shook violently. A boulder cracked, tumbling dangerously close to both of them. Kalen dove, barely avoiding it, and the dragon skidded with a deafening roar. Dust and stones filled the air, blinding him for a heartbeat. When the dust settled, Kalen realized something terrifying. The poachers weren't retreating. They were regrouping, and now the canyon itself seemed unstable, threatening to collapse under the tension of the chase. Kalen's stomach tightened. He had earned the dragon's trust for now, but survival meant more than courage. It meant understanding this creature, predicting its moves, and outsmarting enemies who had far more firepower than he did. He clenched his fists and muttered, "Okay, Kalen. Let's see what you've got." The dragon's massive eyes locked onto his, and for a split second, the world was silent except for their shared heartbeat of anticipation. Then a deep, unearthly growl echoed from somewhere high above the canyon rim, something neither of them had expected. Kalen's blood ran cold. Something bigger than poachers was coming, and this time, it wasn't going to be just about survival. Kalen's heart pounded in his chest as the growl echoed through the canyon walls, low and resonant, vibrating through the rocks beneath his boots. The dragon beside him stiffened, nostrils flaring, muscles tensing as if it could sense the danger before it appeared. Kalen swallowed hard, scanning the jagged cliffs. Nothing. Not yet. But the air felt heavier, charged, and every instinct screamed that this was bigger than poachers. He edged closer to the boulder cluster, trying to stay low, using it as cover. The poachers were still moving, careful now, scanning the rocks, weapons raised. Kalen could hear their soft metallic boots clinking against stone, the subtle hum of energy rifles charging. He counted 5 of them, maybe 6. Not nearly enough to corner him here, but enough to create chaos if the dragon reacted unpredictably. "Stay close," he whispered to the dragon, barely moving his lips. He had no idea if it understood, but the creature flinched at his tone, then turned its massive head toward him, eyes unblinking. It was alert, aware, and increasingly dependent on his cues. Kalen's mind raced. He needed to keep control of the situation, or both of them would die. Then he saw it. A narrow ledge, partially hidden behind jagged rock, sloping upward toward a small cavern. The entrance was just wide enough for him to squeeze through, and maybe, just maybe, for the dragon to follow. But more importantly, the walls of the cavern were etched with strange markings, deep grooves carved into stone, glowing faintly in the red morning light. Alien symbols. Ancient ones. Kalen's breath caught. He had stumbled onto something no one had seen in centuries. What is this?" he murmured. The dragon sniffed the air around the carvings, nostrils flaring, scales ruffling. There was a pattern here, something deliberate, protective, almost reverent. Kalen's pulse quickened. The poachers had no idea. They were only here for the creature. But these markings? They suggested a story, a warning, a secret. And he had just found the key. One of the poachers shouted. Kalen ducked instinctively, just as a metal-tipped projectile ricocheted off the canyon wall. Dust exploded in his face. The dragon growled, wings flexing, claws digging into stone. Kalen felt a strange rush, a mix of fear and exhilaration. The creature trusted him enough to follow him into danger. And now maybe it would help him uncover the canyon's hidden secret. He picked up a loose rock and threw it toward the poacher's flank. They shifted, startled, giving him just enough time to sprint toward the cavern. The dragon followed, claws scraping the rocks with a deafening sound. Kalen ducked low through the entrance. The cavern was tight, dark except for the faint glow from the symbols, and the air smelled ancient, dry, and metallic. The dragon hesitated, then squeezed in after him, tail brushing the walls, wings tucked close. Inside, Kalen crouched, listening. The poachers had stopped at the cavern mouth, shouting, frustrated. They didn't understand the terrain, the maze of rocks, or the presence of the markings. Kalen's mind raced. He needed a plan, and fast. The dragon was tense, watching every shadow, nostrils flaring at unseen movements. Kalen realized it wasn't just following him, it was alert, protective, and somehow reading his intentions. He crouched by one of the glowing carvings, brushing dust from the symbols. His fingers traced a pattern, lines forming a network almost like a map, radiating outward from a central point. The dragon sniffed, nudging his shoulder lightly as if confirming the significance. Kalen's mind snapped into clarity. The dragon wasn't just any creature, it was a guardian, a protector. And the poachers were the intruders. Suddenly, a metallic clang echoed through the cavern. One poacher had forced an entrance, stepping onto a loose stone. The dragon reacted instantly, snapping its jaws, claws raking the wall near the intruder. Kalen's heart raced. One wrong move and the creature could kill, or the poachers could shoot. He had seconds. Thinking quickly, Kalen grabbed a small shard of rock, flicking it toward a narrow overhang. It clattered, striking another ledge, sending a shower of pebbles cascading down. The poacher flinched, distracted, and the dragon lunged, blocking the path. The remaining poachers hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Kalen swallowed hard, realizing they underestimated both the creature and him. He turned back to the carvings. The lines pointed deeper into the canyon, toward a chamber hidden from the sun, a place that no human, or poacher, had discovered. He grabbed the dragon by a foreleg, pressing close. "Follow me," he whispered, urgency clear in his tone. The creature hesitated, then nudged forward. Kalen's courage wasn't blind, it was calculated. Every move had a purpose, every choice had a consequence. The poachers shouted again, trying to rally, but their movements were clumsy in the tight space. Kalen and the dragon slipped deeper into the cavern, moving swiftly, silently, the shadows hiding their path. As they rounded a bend, he glimpsed something that made him freeze. The floor of the inner chamber was covered with more carvings, larger this time, depicting dragons and humans in strange harmony. Scenes of hunting, protection, and communication, symbols he had never imagined. The realization hit him like a punch. These creatures were not just predators. They were intelligent, guardians of something ancient, something sacred. And the poachers were about to destroy it. Kalen's stomach twisted with both awe and urgency. He had to protect this knowledge, this dragon, and himself. Every decision from this point on would matter. A low rumble vibrated through the cavern walls. The poachers had found another path, circling behind. Kalen's head snapped toward the sound, then back to the dragon. Its eyes were wide, muscles taut, wings twitching. They had seconds, maybe less, to escape, to fight, to survive. Kalen took a deep breath, heart hammering, and whispered to the dragon, "We go together, or we don't go at all." The creature's head tilted, a low growl vibrating in its chest, and Kalen felt a strange surge of understanding pass between them. The shadows ahead deepened, the carvings glowing faintly like a warning. Kalen stepped forward, dragon at his side, ready for whatever lay in the chamber beyond. Then, without warning, the ground trembled violently, dust and small rocks falling from above. A section of the cavern wall cracked, revealing a hidden passage that pulsed with faint, alien light. Kalen's breath caught. He realized this was no ordinary canyon. Something bigger, older, and far more dangerous than poachers was waiting for him, and the dragon. The micro-cliffhanger landed hard. Kalen had survived the poacher's threat, gained the dragon's trust, and uncovered hints of a hidden civilization. But the next challenge was already awakening. Kalen's lungs burned as he crept through the hidden passage, the dragon close behind, every step careful on the uneven, glowing stone. The faint light from the carvings cast long shadows, twisting the walls into grotesque shapes. He could hear the poachers moving somewhere above, their metallic boots clinking against stone, voices low but urgent, coordinating. They were determined, ruthless, and now they were closing in. Kalen swallowed hard and pushed forward, heart pounding, mind racing. There was no room for hesitation. The passage opened into a wide chamber, circular, with jagged walls rising like teeth. The floor was uneven, scattered with small, sharp stones and glowing alien symbols that pulsed faintly, casting a crimson light across the cavern. Kalen froze for a heartbeat, taking in the sight. This was no ordinary cave. The carvings were intricate, depicting humans and dragons together, in hunting, in battle, in protection. Symbols of trust, partnership, and power. The realization hit him. This was sacred ground. A place the poachers could never be allowed to desecrate. The dragon shifted beside him, nostrils flaring, claws scratching the stone. Its eyes flicked toward the cavern entrance and Kalen followed its gaze. The poachers had found a way in, two of them, weapons raised, stepping cautiously into the chamber. Their leader held a scanning device, its pulse red, zeroing in on the dragon. Kalen's stomach twisted. There was no way he could outgun them, but maybe he could outthink them. He grabbed a loose shard of rock and flicked it toward the far wall. The noise echoed, startling the poachers. The dragon reacted instantly, crouching low, wings flexing. Kalen held his hands up, stepping forward carefully. "It's not what you think," he called out, keeping his voice calm. The poachers froze, momentarily confused by his audacity. Then, before anyone could react, the dragon lunged. Not at Kalen, but at the poachers. Massive claws raked the floor, sending small stones flying, wings unfurling in a terrifying display. The poachers fired, plasma bolts streaking across the chamber, but the dragon was faster, weaving, dodging, and striking with precision. Kalen ducked behind a protruding rock, heart hammering, and watched in awe as the creature protected him with intelligence, not instinct alone. Kalen realized the moment had come. He couldn't just survive, he had to act. He grabbed another piece of his ration pack and threw it toward a narrow ledge on the opposite side of the chamber. The dragon's attention shifted, just enough for Kalen to dart forward, positioning himself between the poachers and the glowing carvings. Every muscle tensed. Every breath mattered. One poacher tried to flank him, stepping onto a loose rock. Kalen kicked it sharply, sending it skidding toward the edge. The poacher stumbled, nearly falling into a jagged pit, and the dragon snapped, catching him in a clawed strike that sent him sprawling. Kalen's chest heaved. One by one he used quick thinking, the terrain, and the dragon's reactions to disrupt the poacher's advance. Every move built on the last, a chain of cause and effect that kept them off balance. A sudden roar split the chamber, louder and deeper than any the dragon had made. Dust fell from the ceiling, stones shifting as the ground trembled beneath them. Kalen's heart jumped. The ceiling above the poachers cracked, threatening to collapse. The dragon turned its massive head toward him, eyes wide, and Kalen knew it was ready to trust his next command. "Now!" he shouted, and both leapt forward together. The dragon barreled into the poachers with controlled force, knocking weapons aside. Kalen rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a plasma blast, and sprinted toward the inner chamber, the carvings guiding him. The dragon followed, tail brushing the walls, massive wings flexing, creating gusts that knocked the remaining poachers off balance. Kalen's adrenaline surged as he realized something important. The dragon wasn't just a weapon. It was an ally, understanding his intent, responding to his cues. Each micro-decision, each flick of his hand, each toss of food had led to this moment. Proof that human courage, intelligence, and empathy could turn even the deadliest odds in their favor. The poachers, disoriented and battered, regrouped near the cavern entrance. One fired a desperate shot. The dragon intercepted it, claws snapping the weapon midair, sparks flying. Kalen ducked behind a boulder, heart hammering. One of the poachers lunged forward, trying to grab him, but the dragon's tail swept in a powerful arc, sending the attacker tumbling into a wall of jagged rock. The chamber shook from the impact. Kalen's mind raced. The carvings glowed brighter, illuminating a hidden path deeper into the cavern. It was narrow, winding, and probably the only way to escape the remaining poachers. He turned to the dragon, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We go together. Trust me." The creature growled low in response, almost a rumble of agreement. As they moved, a part of the ceiling cracked above, sending a shower of stones down. Kalen ducked instinctively, but the dragon shifted its massive body to shield him, a wall of scales and muscle against the falling debris. Kalen's breath caught. The bond between them wasn't just trust, it was survival shared through action, instinct, and choice. The poachers, realizing they were losing control, began retreating, shouting curses and threats. Kalen and the dragon pressed forward, deeper into the glowing chamber. The carvings grew more intricate, depicting humans riding dragons, communicating, defending sacred ground. Kalen's chest swelled with awe. These weren't just creatures, they were intelligent, guardians, allies. A final tremor shook the cavern. Kalen and the dragon paused at the threshold of a hidden inner sanctum. The walls here glowed with a deep crimson light, symbols pulsing like a heartbeat. The poachers' shouts were distant now, fading, but Kalen knew it wasn't over. Something even greater awaited them in the depths of this chamber. He swallowed hard, heart still hammering from the fight, and whispered, "We've survived the worst, but this is only the beginning." The dragon's eyes glimmered in the crimson light, massive head tilting toward him, as if understanding every word. And in the shadows of the inner sanctum, faint and alien, a movement stirred. Something far older, far larger, and far more dangerous than either poachers or dragon. Kalen froze, sensing the presence, every nerve alert. This was the true test, the one that would decide not just survival, but the fate of the canyon's ancient secret. The micro-cliffhanger slammed into the moment. Kalen had faced impossible odds, survived with courage and intelligence, and earned the dragon's trust. But the real challenge, the one that could change everything, was just awakening in the darkness ahead. Kalen's chest heaved as he stepped into the inner sanctum, the crimson light from the pulsating symbols bathing the chamber in an otherworldly glow. The air was thick with an electric hum, vibrating through his bones. The dragon followed closely, massive wings folded, nostrils flaring, eyes scanning every shadow. Kalen realized, with a mixture of awe and fear, that they had entered a place no human had seen in generations. A place alive with secrets. The chamber was enormous, circular, with a domed ceiling carved with intricate alien glyphs. At its center lay a shallow pool of liquid, glowing faintly like molten amber. Reflections danced across the walls, illuminating carvings of humans and dragons intertwined, hunting, communicating, defending. Kalen's pulse quickened. This was more than history, it was a record, a living testament to cooperation and trust between species. He crouched beside the dragon, whispering, "We're not alone here." The creature stiffened, muscles coiling like springs, eyes fixed on a darkened corner. A movement stirred, slow, deliberate, and immense. From the shadows emerged a creature far larger than the dragon he had first encountered. Its scales shimmered with a deep violet hue, eyes glowing like molten metal. It was an elder of its kind, a guardian, ancient and powerful. Kalen's stomach twisted. The dragon beside him growled low, but Kalen stepped forward. His voice was calm but firm. "We mean no harm." He raised a hand, showing the elder dragon the same gestures he had used with its smaller counterpart. The elder tilted its massive head, nostrils flaring, assessing, weighing. Kalen held his ground, heart hammering, every instinct screaming both fear and determination. Then something remarkable happened. The smaller dragon stepped forward, nudging Kalen gently, growling at the elder. The elder's eyes shifted from Kalen to the smaller dragon, then back, and a low rumble echoed through the chamber. It was a sound of recognition, of acknowledgement. Kalen realized the creature wasn't attacking because the bond he had formed was now being acknowledged. The dragons recognized intent, morality, courage, the essence of human spirit. Kalen's mind raced. The poachers were still out there, unaware of the sanctum, unaware of what they were about to destroy. He had seconds to act. He turned to the elder dragon and spoke softly. "Help me protect them." The creature's massive head lowered slightly, a slow, deliberate gesture. Kalen's chest tightened with awe. He had earned the trust of a being that had survived centuries, a creature of intelligence and power beyond imagining. A sudden noise from the cavern entrance startled him. The poachers had found another path, weapons drawn, but the sanctum's light and symbols seemed to confuse them. Their scanners went haywire, alarms blaring as the energy of the chamber interfered with their technology. Kalen realized the sanctum itself was alive, a protective mechanism waiting for someone who understood its purpose. He grabbed the smaller dragon's foreleg gently. "Stay close. Follow my lead." Together, they moved toward the chamber's exit, the elder dragon rising behind them like a sentinel. The poachers fired, bolts streaking across the glowing floor, but the elder's massive tail deflected them, sending sparks flying. Kalen ducked behind a boulder, adrenaline surging. He had become a strategist, guiding the creatures with every movement, predicting the poachers' responses, using terrain, instinct, and intellect to survive. As they reached the exit, Kalen tossed another piece of food toward the smaller dragon, signaling cooperation, keeping it calm, focused. The creature caught it midair, eyes flicking toward him. Kalen realized that survival wasn't just about fighting, it was about understanding, connection, and courage. Every choice had meaning, every action consequence. The poachers were trapped, disoriented, while he, with his dragons, held control of the situation. The sanctum's glow intensified, pulsing like a heartbeat. Kalen could feel it, a deep resonance of life and history intertwined. The elder dragon's eyes met his one final time before it slowly backed into the shadows, signaling the end of confrontation, yet remaining watchful. Kalen exhaled, feeling the weight of what had just happened. He had survived impossible odds, gained the trust of two extraordinary creatures, and uncovered knowledge that could change everything humanity thought it knew about this planet. But the moment was bittersweet. The poachers, realizing they were defeated, retreated into the canyon's shadows, shouting curses and threats. Kalen knew they would return, better prepared, more ruthless. The sanctum, the dragons, and this hidden history were still at risk. Yet for now he had bought time, secured allies, and proved the essence of human spirit, courage, intelligence, empathy, could shine even in the darkest moments. Kalen stepped forward, placing his hand gently on the smaller dragon's scaled neck. Its warm breath mingled with his and he whispered, "We're just getting started." The dragon nudged him in response, a simple but powerful acknowledgement of trust. Together they moved deeper into the sanctum, exploring, learning, discovering secrets the poachers could never comprehend. And then, as the last glow from the symbols flickered across the chamber walls, Kalen noticed a narrow passage beyond the Elder Dragon, pulsating with an even deeper violet light. It was smaller, hidden, almost imperceptible, like a gateway waiting for those brave enough to step through. His heart raced. Something ancient, far larger than anything they had faced, awaited in the darkness beyond. Kalen turned to the dragon and smiled, adrenaline and excitement mixing. "Whatever's next," he said, "we face it together." The dragon's low rumble echoed, almost a laugh, a promise of loyalty and courage. The final micro-cliffhanger settled. The poachers were gone for now, but a far greater mystery stirred beyond the violet gateway. Kalen had proven humanity could shine against impossible odds. But the real adventure, the one that could change everything, was just beginning.